Be sure to listen to Alice in Wonderland, the radio theater, live, local, and worldwide at BigBenRadio.com.
This summer,
Late. I'm late. Oh dear, oh dear.
take a trip down the rabbit hole
A rabbit with a pocket watch? Wait, please!
with Alice in Wonderland, a radio play presented by the Sul Ross State University Theater Program.
The Cheshire Cat! Would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here?
That depends a good deal on where you want to get to.
No room.
There's plenty of room.
Have some wine.
I don't see any wine.
There isn't any.
Your hair wants cutting.
How rude! I've had enough of both of you.
Alice in Wonderland airs on KVLF August 7th and 8th at 8 p.m. and August 9th at 2 p.m.
Off with her head!
Fun for the whole family.
Welcome one, welcome all, everybody. Good morning. It's Conley here on KVLF, and I have the pleasure of having on today the very talented Marjorie Scott, Professor and Chair of Fine Arts and Communication for Sul Ross State University. Margie, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks, Conley. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been quite a morning, and it's going to be a big weekend. There's a lot of action going on this weekend. We have the rodeo, but we also have the radio theater. That is a big deal.
It is a big deal. We're very excited about it. We're excited. It's the second radio play we've done this summer, and the first one, was a lot of fun, and people seem to respond really well to it. And so we're excited to release this one tonight.
Yeah, and tonight at 8 o'clock, we're going to have Alice in Wonderland, the radio theater. You are directing. I know you and your husband, Brett Scott, and the students of Sul Ross State University and the actors, I'm sure, have been working really hard on this production. And I'm excited to talk a little about it today. But first, before we get into it, would you let our listeners know a little bit about your own background?
Sure. So I grew up in the Bay Area, in Oakland, California, and I know some Texans might not want to hear that, but I am from California. And I moved out here. Well, okay, I'm jumping ahead a lot. I studied theater like my whole life. My first professional acting gig was when I was 10 years old. I was in a movie, and I knew that I wanted to be an actor from a really young age, and so I pursued that pretty much my whole life. I mean, when I was 3, I told my mom I was going to be a great dramatic actress. I don't know where I came up with that term, but that's what I said. And so, did acting in high school, and also was interested in directing. Like when I was telling a friend the other day that I directed a live production of The Breakfast Club when I was in 5th grade.
Oh, sweet. Wow.
Which probably the most inappropriate thing for a 5th grader to be directing. But anyway, that was the 80s. And so anyway, I studied theater in college, and I was totally hooked and graduated college and worked professionally as an actor, got into producing as well. I've done television and film and lots of theater. I had a theater company with friends from college. We started right after college in Los Angeles for several years. And yeah, I mean, I've just been doing this my whole life. I mean, it's part of my, I don't know, my DNA. I don't know.
Your essence. It's part of your essence, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess we can say that because it's an art. So anyway.
It is.
But yeah, and then coming to Sul Ross, I started here in 2013 as an adjunct. My husband got a job full-time working in communication, and I was raising my daughter pretty much full-time. And then they found out that I had a background in film and theater, and I have an MFA, which is a Master of Fine Arts in film producing from USC, and that I worked in the Hollywood system, not just as an actor and director, but as a producer. I worked in development at Sony and NBC Universal, and they were like, wow, well, we would love to hire you to teach. And I did, and then it turned into a full-time position, and now I'm chair of the Department of Fine Arts and Communication, and I teach communication and theater. So very honored to be doing that.
Yes, and you are a great teacher. You taught me a lot about communication.
Aww.
So,
but I'm glad you need to say that because I'm right in front of you. But that's nice of you to say.
Right. But no. In all actuality, your story is very amazing. Of you and your whole family, very talented family. you have.
thanks.
And your production of Alice in Wonderland is, you had to think outside the box a little bit. You had to be a little creative, figure
Yeah.
out a way to, circumvent this pandemic stuff. But I think it's a blessing in disguise, because you're working with the theater of the mind, right?
Yes, we are. So, yeah, this was a big challenge. Initially, just figuring out what we were going to do, because traditionally, and, a lot of our audience listening knows, every summer for the last 55 years, I want to say, 54, 55, Sul Ross has produced theater through their summer program called Theater of the Big Bend, and it's, a very popular, longstanding tradition, and, Brett and I have been participating in it since we've been here. And it's a lot of fun, and it's in a big outdoor theater. I mean, you've been to it, but we couldn't do it this time because of the pandemic, so we had to come up with something else where we could still do theater, but not face-to-face. So, yes, Theater of the Mind. So doing a radio play was something that we came up with as an alternative, and it's been really great, actually. And one of the things that's been really wonderful about it is that it really ignites the imagination in a different way. We rely so much on visual communication. Most people do, because we look at things often. We don't know that we hear them first, but we often look at things, and that's the information that we focus on the most. And our society is very visual. We look at signs, we look at, like street signs, we look at people's faces, we look at, all the media that we have now. We're always looking at our phones, it's always like
Sure.
looking and seeing. So with this, it's an opportunity for people to, in a similar way that happens when we read a book or we're told a story, like when we were children and our parents read to us or our grandparents or whomever, and our imagination can run wild and create the images that we, create internally as opposed to being fed to us by someone else's imagination.
Right.
And in this way, we do have, the sounds of the actors' voices portraying these characters. So, that is something that we do provide the audience. And then there's music and sound effects and the story itself, of course, which does have a lot of pre-awareness. I mean, who doesn't know about Alice in Wonderland? Like, most people
Sure.
have seen a production of it, or they know the Disney movie or something. So, there definitely is an idea of Alice in Wonderland, that she's this little blonde girl in the blue and white dress, and she's English and all this stuff. But we're doing something a little different with it. She's still a child. She's American in this production.
Cool.
And we love the idea of allowing people's imaginations to, sort of create the images for them individually, as opposed to, with live theater, we are giving them those images, which is a wonderful thing too. But in this case, it's more like, a bedtime story, if you will, or,
Right.
Reading a book. And yet, the information is being told to us. It's something you can engage in, similarly to the way that we engage in visual theater, live theater, or movie. But it's all, so much of it is taking place in the mind of the listener. And that's new for our program in terms of what kind of content we typically produce.
And it's new for a lot of individuals, too. I would think that, we are, like you said, we are being fed all of the illustration right in front of us, so it doesn't give our minds the opportunity to create. But using your medium, earlier this summer, y'all produced Attack of the Killer Superbugs from Outer Space. And,
Yeah.
and the ambiance in the background, the voices, the volume levels just really sculpted this whole creation that I'm sure all the listeners out there, use their creative juices to formulate that story.
Absolutely. And, in one listener's mind, some of the characters in the story in Alice in Wonderland, and I'm sure this happened with the Attack of the Killer Superbugs show, when they imagine what the character looks like, because we inevitably do when we hear a voice, we often get an image in our head. It may not be a perfectly formulated image of a face and all the features, but we do picture something. And in each one of the listeners' minds, that's going to be something different. Like, it's kind of like when a book is adapted into a movie. We read the book, everybody reads the book, Harry Potter, for example, or Lord of the Rings. And I'm just picking very popular examples, but It could be any book that's adapted. And when they make the film, you inevitably get people who are like, well, that's not how I pictured it at all.
Right.
Like they have this idea in their mind. And for other people, it's like, oh, that was so perfect. That was exactly what I pictured. And so I love the idea that in radio drama and radio theater, there's that freedom within each of us to like imagine something unique and special and different. It is being inspired by what we're listening to. And some listeners might experience similar things, but in terms of what they're visualizing, but each one of us is going to, see something a little different. And that's great. That's a wonderful thing, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree. And as far as producing this, I'm sure it came with its own bag of challenges, right? Did you work with students remotely a lot?
Yes, we. So right now, the university is not. We're not for summer. We didn't do any face-to-face classes like we typically do. So students were all over the place. We have students, as far away as Houston and Dallas, and some are local, which is helpful. We did do some social distancing recording in the soundstage where we had masks on, Brett and I, and we were like in the booth, and then the students were, or the actors. We actually have a number. The cast size for this show is about 37 people. So we had a mix of students, local people. Yeah, it's a big one. Local people, and then even some people as far away as other countries. We actually have a very broad mix of people involved in this show and in terms of the actors. And we did Zoom recordings with them, which was basically where we were on a Zoom chat with the actor. And I would watch the actor, and they would record either on recording equipment or their iPhone, the lines, and then I would listen to the tracks and I would direct them that way. So it was not anything I had done before. I've done voiceover work as an actor, and you're in a booth typically, but the director and the sound person and everybody, they're like right there with you, and they can see, it's all in person usually, at least the stuff I've done. And so, but thankfully with technology, we were so grateful, because without that, we couldn't have done it this way because everybody was so spread out. So we did do some live recordings for a few of the actors, and we were very careful. We had them in their own little space, and we would space out the recording times between actors and disinfect everything. But we did do some of that where they came into the studio and we were right there. And that actually helped because we could kind of control the quality of the recording a little bit better. But the rest of it was Zoom. And, that's tricky because you're relying on technology, and sometimes people have crappy Wi-Fi or, all kinds of stuff. So, but thankfully it worked out, and we managed to get all of the tracks that we needed. And
you take all those elements and put them all together and create this beautiful story that we're going to listen to tonight for the first time at 8:00, right?
That's right. We're hoping that you think it's beautiful. I mean, we think it is. We think it's a really beautiful story, and that the actors, everybody did such a great job. So
yeah. Well, that's awesome, Margie. Marjorie Scott, Professor Marjorie Scott, I should say.
You can call me Margie. My God.
all right. Formalities aside, but well, I'm really looking forward to listening to this one. Are there any future productions in store?
Yeah. So right now, we are planning to. The theater program decided, because of the sort of precariousness of this whole pandemic, even though, things are just changing constantly, we decided to not do any live productions this fall. We're doing actually a couple of things that we think are pretty exciting. One is we're about to launch a drive-in movie theater at the Outdoor Theater.
Right.
Yeah, and we're going to send more information about that when we have the specific titles of the films. We're putting together programming of the movies that we want to screen, but we're going to do some like favorites from the classic kind of like American canon, like things like Jaws and Grease, and fun films that people like to watch, especially in an outdoor venue. And so we will give more information, more details about that. But that's one of the things we're going to be doing first. We're still doing some testing to make sure that the sound quality is good and all of that. But that'll be coming up later in August. And our plan is to run that for several weekends. And we'd like to run it into the fall if we can, just because with people being in their cars, weather is sort of not an issue.
Right.
And usually the weather's pretty good in September and October. So, yeah, that's something that's coming up. And that'll be at the Coconut Outdoor Theater. There's that big parking lot there. And we will screen the movies on the side of the building. And we've actually built some stuff specifically for this outdoor movie theater. So we're excited to open it up to the public, and hopefully people will enjoy that. Something to do that's social but safe,
Sure. Oh,
and
yeah.
then the other thing is a show that we are going to be developing, an original piece with our new theater faculty. We have a wonderful new theater professor who's just joined our team. Her name is Ava Heel, and she comes to us from Ohio. And she and I are going to be co-directing and co-developing a piece that is going to involve our students interviewing real people throughout Texas on their experiences during the pandemic. So a lot of frontline workers, essential workers, hospital staff, that kind of thing, UPS drivers, but other people too, and getting a lot of detailed information about their experiences and what they've gone through in this pandemic, some of which may be, comedic. It's not necessarily going to all be sad and dramatic, although there will definitely be some of that, I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah. Almost in a documentary style?
Yeah, so sort of like the Laramie Project a little bit, or
I
it's sort of inspired by that, or the Works of Culture Clash, where we pull real information from, real people, and then we give it to playwrights that we are collaborating with, professional playwrights, who will then take the information they get from the students, the source material, and develop monologues and scenes. And then the students will perform them. We're going to film them. And then, so they'll be basically developing, the play itself and the characters, honoring the voices of these people who are real and who are going through very real stuff. I mean, like we all are during this pandemic, but
Sure.
giving sort of voice to, Texans during a pandemic. And many of whom have done heroic things, like hospital workers, for example, and
Sure.
UPS drivers, I think, are heroes.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I admire them so much, and I'm so grateful for them. And so, and then we'll release it. Our dates are looking like starting in mid-October, releasing every week a monologue and a scene, or a couple of monologues and a scene, almost like a series, basically. And for the next, 6 weeks, for the remainder of the semester, starting in October, we'll have, kind of like a Netflix series where,
Yeah.
The audience can log in, they can watch, our students performing scenes and monologues based off of real people who are in Texas and dealing with the pandemic. And again,
Wow.
It's not necessarily all going to be dark, gloomy stuff, although there will be, I'm sure, very, very poignant. We don't know what we're going to get. We're excited to discover it, though.
It's going to be one of those that's a mixture of a little bit of everything, but also very informative, right? So, well,
Absolutely. And I think also a document of the human experience. I think that's what theater ultimately is.
Sure.
It gives voice to what we're going through right now. Every single play, every story is about the human condition and the human experience. Alice in Wonderland is about a child navigating the crazy adult world. And imagine a child navigating the crazy adult world during a pandemic. I mean,
Right.
can you imagine anything crazier? Like,
oh,
it's
man.
crazy.
Yeah.
Other than a war, wartime. And so that's why we chose Alice in Wonderland right now, is that it's a story that was written in 1865, but it's, we are all in a way going down a rabbit hole right now. This is uncharted territory.
Sure.
We are all sort of dealing with a world that is turned upside down. And that's what Alice is experiencing. And so we wanted to talk about and deal with a topic that was immediate, the pandemic, but do it in a way that was really honoring the human experience. So that's
Wow.
what we're aiming for this fall.
Well, wow, that is amazing. Y'all are doing such like a wonderful job out there, and
Thank you.
we as a local, and I speak for the local community too. We are so blessed to have the Theater of the Big Bend, Sul Ross State University, to give us this kind of entertainment and art that we really are just craving, especially, since we can't travel a lot. But we're so lucky to have y'all, and we're so lucky to have your talents as well, creating this. And I really look forward to listening tonight. Again, for the listeners, Alice in Wonderland, it's a Theater of the Mind radio theater play. We're going to be broadcasting it tonight at 8 p.m. and tomorrow night at 8 p.m. as well. And if you just so happen to miss it tonight or tomorrow, or want to hear it a third time, shoot, why not? Sunday at 2 p.m. Again. So is there anything you'd like to close with, Margie?
I just want to thank our audience for being so supportive. We really just love you guys and gals and are so grateful for the support and grateful for KVLF for being so supportive of what we do. So thank you, Conley, too.
Oh, yeah. No. Everybody here at the station, there's a lot of moving parts. Martin, Gary, Keith, Derek, the whole crew, PJ. We're all in support of what you're doing as well. So thank you so much, Margie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, you have a great day, and it's been a great discussion.
Likewise. Thank you, Conley. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Everybody, that was Professor Marjorie Scott. She's professor and chair of Fine Arts and Communication at Sul Ross State University. Again, please listen tonight, 8 p.m., tomorrow, 8 p.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. to Alice in Wonderland, the Theater of the Mind, the radio theater production.
This summer,
Late. I'm late. Oh dear, oh dear.
take a trip down the rabbit hole
A rabbit with a pocket watch? Wait, please.
with Alice in Wonderland, a radio play presented by the Sul Ross State University Theater Program.
The Cheshire Cat. Would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here?
That depends a good deal on where you want to get to.
No room.
There's plenty of room.
Have some wine.
I don't see any wine.
There isn't any.
Your hair wants cutting.
How rude! I've had enough of both of you.
Alice in Wonderland airs on KVLF August 7th and 8th at 8 p.m. and August 9th at 2 p.m.
Off with her head!
Fun for the whole family.